Hi, and welcome to Chai Mitzvah's Grandparents and Beyond. Today we're going to talk about Judaism and the environment. It's a great topic because Tu B'Shvat comes later on this month. Let's just start with a quick review about how to use these materials. As a grandparent, you know what activities would be suitable for you and your grandchildren, what interests you and what you'll have fun doing. But in case you need a little guidance, we have icons on the side of the pages giving a hint as to what age the activities are designed for. But that doesn't mean you have to do them specifically with that age child. As you all know, some pre-K kids can do something that a third grader would do, and some middle school kids will have fun doing something that was meant for second grade. So do what you enjoy, what you like, and have fun. Let's talk about Tu B'Shvat. It's the original Earth Day. Long before there was Earth Day, there was a Jewish holiday of Tu B'Shvat. It's also known as the birthday of the trees. We celebrate Tu B'Shvat when the winter rains have passed in Israel and the sap is beginning to rise in the trees. We celebrate the rebirth of nature and the beauty of everything God has created. And we think about our relationship towards the earth and every living thing. For more details about Tu B'Shvat, here's a great rebus you can do. You can click on the pictures if you need any clues. Tu B'Shvat does not appear in the Torah. It was decreed a holiday by the rabbis about 200 years ago. Our people were mostly farmers in Israel. They had laws of charity to follow, which required that they know the ages of trees and when the growing year began. Keep reading for lots more interesting information about Tu B'Shvat. Another fun way to observe Tu B'Shvat is with the Tu B'Shvat Seder. We have two different Tu B'Shvat Haggadahs linked to our materials here. The first one is for younger families, and the second one's for slightly more mature families. This one is Branching Out, your Tu B'Shvat Haggadah from JNF, Jewish National Fund. As you can see, this is a nice black and white Haggadah that you can print out, and it's easy to color in for kids who like to color. This Tu B'Shvat Seder follows Pri Etz Hadar, the original Tu B'Shvat Seder written by the mystics of Tzvat more than 300 years ago. But it's also full of games and songs and activities, and it's lots of fun. The other Tu B'Shvat is from ritualwell.org. It's called Seder Tu B'Shvat, and it has lots of readings and prayers and interesting things you can do for a Tu B'Shvat Seder for a slightly more mature family. Both are excellent Tu B'Shvat Haggadahs. Whether or not you decide to do a Tu B'Shvat Seder, here's another great activity you can do. It's called Be a Tree or a Tree's Friend, and you play it like charades. Individuals or small groups silently act out any item they choose from the list below. The rest of the group guesses which item it is. You can also add ideas of your own to the list if you like. This is easy to play both in person and virtually. And it leads you to the next discussion, which is about this text from Rabbi Arthur Waskow. He says, "We breathe and the trees breathe. We breathe in what the trees breathe out. So we breathe each other into existence. And the breath goes in a cycle." A great conversation can come from this. We see how nature fits together like a puzzle. How do your actions affect the world around you, both in the environment and in your community? What does this text teach us about cause and effect, both in nature and in our actions? This brings us to a discussion of the relationship between humanity and the environment. We start with an activity where you look at the three magic mirrors below. And in each one, draw yourself the way you might look if you were made a ruler over the environment, a guardian of the environment, or in the image of God, caring for the environment the way God would. What would be different and what would be the same about each role? Now let's look at the texts and carry this idea forward a little more. The story of creation is told twice in the book of Genesis. It's first told in Genesis chapter 1 and then again in Genesis chapter 2. Each telling seems to portray a slightly different relationship between humans and the earth. So let's read the texts and circle the words that appear to describe the relationship between humanity and the environment. The first text says, "And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. They shall rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the cattle, the whole earth, and all the creeping things that creep on the earth." I'm circling the word rule. That certainly portrays one relationship between humanity and the earth. Let's look at text 2. The eternal God took the man and placed him in the Garden of Eden to till it and to tend it. Now let's think about this for a minute. How can humans both rule and guard the earth? The phrase B'Tselem Elohim means that humans are created in the image of God. This phrase is often quoted to describe the way human beings should act. How does this mean we should act toward the environment? No discussion of a relationship between humanity and the environment would be complete without Bal Tashchit. Bal Tashchit is a law that prohibits wasteful consumption and needless destruction. We start with a really fun game called Recycle Roundup. How many uses can you think of for unwanted items? So the game is for 2 players or 2 teams plus a host. You'll need 3 unwanted items, for example, an empty paper cup, an old shoe, an empty box, paper and pencil for each team, and a timer. You can use your cell phone for the timer. Here's how you play. The game begins when the host shows one unwanted item to the players. Players have 1 minute to think of all the uses they can for the item and write them down. At the end of the minute, each team reads its list. If both teams have thought of the same idea or use, it gets crossed off the list. Count how many uses are left on each list. The team with the most ideas wins the round. The team that wins 2 rounds out of 3 is the winning team. As we were just saying, Jewish law prohibits wasteful consumption and needless destruction. This is referred to as Bal Tashchit, do not destroy. When people waste resources, they violate the law of Bal Tashchit. The laws of Bal Tashchit are the foundation for preventing human actions that are harmful to the environment. Below is the law from the Torah, followed by its development in the Mishnah Torah by the Rambam. If you'd like more information on Rambam, Rabbi Moses ben Maimon, you can click here. If you'd like more information about his work, the Mishnah Torah, you can click here. Let's first see what the Torah has to say about Bal Tashchit. When in your war against a city, you have to besiege it a long time in order to capture it. You may not destroy its fruit-bearing trees by swinging an axe against them. You may eat of them, but you must not cut them down. According to this law, what is permitted and what is forbidden? Why do you think the law is only for fruit trees? How might we understand this law in modern times? Now let's see what Rambam has to say about it. Not only one who cuts down a fruit tree, but anyone who destroys household goods, tears clothing, demolishes a building, stops up a spring, or ruins food deliberately violates the prohibition Bal Tashchit, you must not destroy. So you can see Rambam expanded the prohibition of Bal Tashchit, of just cutting down fruit trees. How does he expand the original prohibition? What are the similarities and differences between this expanded list and the original prohibition against cutting down a fruit tree? And what does this mean for our lives today? A fun activity to sum this up is to go around your house and look for ways you might reduce waste and save energy. You might also consider ways you could improve the environment in your community and in your school. How would you add to the Bal Tashchit list? You can print out this page and write your ideas below, or you can make a word cloud that illustrates your ideas. For example, you might have a drippy water faucet that wastes water, which is an important resource, and it wastes energy as well. If you fix that, that'll be one good way to reduce waste and save energy. I hope you have fun with all the activities, ideas, and conversations in this booklet. Looking forward to seeing you next time with Chai Mitzvah's grandparents and beyond.